So first of all, welcome everyone to the first Tech Talk from the Life Center. We're going to be organizing more webinars dealing with technology and how to apply technology in our classes. So our presenter today is Professor Jennifer Hirashiki. We all know her. She's everywhere. She's working with all of us and everything. So we are really familiar with her. But I want to talk a little bit about her as a professional. So she has an MA TESOL from Azusa Pacific University, a bachelor's degree in French literature and linguistics from Ohio University, and a TEFL certification also from Ohio University. She's now Westwood University Assessment Coordinator, graduate program chair for the College of Education. She started teaching EFL in France for the Ministry of Education in the Assistant English Teacher Program in 2005. Then she moved to Japan in 2006 to teach at an English language school for all ages. And upon her return to the US in 2011, she started working at EF Language Centers in Redondo Beach. So during her time at EF, she was a senior teacher and she became the academic director. And as academic director, she hired, trained, and managed teachers, developed curriculum as she does now at Westcliff University, and ran the academic department of the school. So her interests include curriculum development, technology in the classroom, and action research. And she has plenty of expertise in using Google tools for in-class collaboration. So thank you, Professor Hirashiki. The floor is yours.
Thank you. I know that's a lot of information. So I feel like the only thing you don't maybe know is that I have 2 cats now. So now you know everything about me. But we'll go ahead and get started. And this is a really active presentation today. And I want to start off with saying these are just some ideas. Nothing in here is something that you really need to use or you need to implement tomorrow. But the hope of this presentation is that you can get some ideas. Maybe you've been doing something the same time each time you teach a course, and you'd like to try something different or try something new. This might spark some interest, and I'm just touching the surface with some of these activities. And obviously with all the different topics and ages and groups that we teach, not everything is going to have that one-size-fits-all approach. So the goal of today is really to get some ideas, and if anyone would like more ideas in regards to your specific group of students or whatnot, I'd be more than happy to meet with you to talk about some ideas in that. So let's go ahead and get started. And the first question is, what Google tools can you name?
Google Doc.
Google Docs?
Yes.
Google Drive.
Google Drive?
Google Calendar.
Google Calendar, okay.
Google Scholar.
Google Scholar.
Google Classroom.
Google Classroom, that's a good one.
Also, Google Voice to shield your number.
Ah, there's another one. What about things, tools that you might be able to use in more of a classroom setting?
I use Google, like a Zoom. I don't know how is that called. Google Zoom. I did
Hangouts. Google
Dr.
Hangouts.
Johnson. Hangouts? Is it Zoom, right?
It's
That would
like
be Google Meet.
or Google Meet. That's
Google
what it was.
Meet.
Sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
Any others?
Google Sheets.
Google Sheets, yeah, exactly. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of these main parts of Google Doc or Google Drive or the Google Suite, if you will, focusing on slides, docs, sheets, and forms here. And so I'm going to go over a couple of those more in depth of what you can do with them in the classroom. Sometimes we think of some of them as more administrative tools, but how can we use them and also benefit from their collaborative features? So the next task is, where do you find these? And so I know this sounds basic, but we're coming together, and some people have familiarity with Google tools and some don't. So go ahead and see that little box in the top right of your email. You're gonna see that 9 circle box. Go ahead and click on there and see what other apps come up when you select more. What else comes up as you hit more on there?
groups, YouTube, Maps, News, Google Ads, Photos, Translate, Vault, Hangouts, Forms, Keep.
Yep. So we've got a lot of apps on here, and sometimes it can get overwhelming if we think we need to know how to use all of those all at the same time, and that's not what we want to do. But it's good to know that those are there and ready for us. So some of the Google Docs features, I'm just going to pull up here. Really, it's a way that we can work simultaneously on the same document. So how do we do that with some students? What might be the purpose of doing, how could we bring this into our classroom knowing that we can work together on a similar or on the same document?
Google Share?
You can share it, yeah.
You can share it. And what else can you do? Why would sharing be such a useful part of that?
That way everyone has access to it.
Mm-hmm.
And you can also see like on the side who edited what and then like what time they edited the file.
Exactly. So you can do some editing parts with suggesting or comments in there. And what about how you can see if who's contributed to what? Do you know how to see that part?
You can check under last edit or the edits and see the edit history.
So right up here on last edit, you can see exactly who contributed to what. And it's going to be highlighted in a different color. And I'll show a different example of that on a document that I've used with students in the past. And then one more question is, where's the save button?
You don't save it. It's automatically be saved.
It's automatically saved. So this is a huge benefit of being able to just not lose something. Well, the only way you might lose it is if you forget to, or where you put it on your drive. But you don't have to save anything. It's already in there. Whatever anyone else has done in there has been automatically uploaded as well. And so if you are new to Google Tools, this is one of those areas that is a little uncomfortable at first. So the first thing we're going to do is make a Google Doc. And what you're going to do is, let me go back to here to the first task, is you're going to create a Google Doc. You're going to title it as PD Practice, and you're going to share that document with me. So if you already know how to do this, you're fine. You can zone out for a minute. But if this is something that you would like to practice, you're going to just create a Google Doc. And I'm going to go back over to where that would be. Okay. So here's my drive, and I'm just going to hit New. And I'm going to hit Google Doc. And I'm going to create it. And then once I need to share, I can just share by hitting this button. And in here, you'll be able to, I have to title it. You can share with anyone you want. You can also play around with the settings of who can edit, who can comment, who can view. So sometimes you might just want students to be able to see information but not edit, but sometimes you might want them to be able to access and edit. So go ahead and take about 1 minute to send or share your document with me. And I'm here. I'm just actually sharing a document with you, so you'll be able to go in and find it in just a minute. Okay. So I have actually also shared a document with you, and we're going to go ahead and access that as well. I want to make sure that I've gotten the share over here. So let's see if I've gotten any. Okay, perfect. I see a lot of these as I'm checking the email here. And now what you're going to do, and I'm going to resume share again here, but now I just shared a document with you. So how are you going to find that? Does anyone have an idea of, if you're looking at how I'm going to find that? If I'm in my email, I can get it. But what if I'm just in my drive and I want to make sure I keep that and I don't have to go back to the email?
You check it, shared with me.
Exactly. So if you go to your shared with me drive, you're going to find that. Probably the first one, and yours might be this kind of view, and that's fine as well. I like the box view, so you can go back and forth by selecting the list view or the grid view. But it's going to be right here. And if you want to save that, all you have to do is drag it and put it into my drive. And then it's going to bring it into your drive where it's going to be in the same place every time you look for it. Were you able to find it?
Maybe you forgot about me. I don't see it.
I might have forgotten about you.
It's okay. It's all right. But I know where to look.
You answered the question. That's why I meant to do that. Just kidding.
You've been sharing a lot with me, so I know.
Any questions? Did anyone have trouble finding or bringing it into your drive? Okay. And once it's in your drive, that's when you can organize this section any way you want. And you're going to be able to set it up, make your folders. So maybe you have a class that you're teaching and you want to make a folder for just that class. Then you can put everything in there, drag and drop it in there, and you can keep it. And so it'll be there when you need it for the next time you teach it, and you can just update. So if you want to do that, we're going to move on to making a folder real quick. But any questions about finding, sharing, or getting that shared document into your drive? Okay. This is kind of a little bit of an overview. And like I said, I like to use that grid format. But what you're going to do now is create a folder. And to do that, anyone besides Dr. Sherm, can you tell me how you're going to create a folder in your drive?
Wouldn't that be clicking the new under the drive?
Exactly. Yep, and you're going to select, you're going to create a folder, and you can label it PD folder. You can delete this afterwards. And once that's created, it's now one of your folders or one of your sections on your Google Drive, and you can drag and drop anything you need in there. Word documents, Google Docs, Google Sheets, any of those types of documents you can put directly in here, and you can just save anything you want into that folder and have access to it. And you can adjust the sharing settings as well. So I have a folder that I share with, well, probably many of you have had a folder that's shared by me with you. And the nice thing is it's where it's at on your desktop or on your drive here won't change depending on where. The only time it will change is if you've added, you know, another folder that's alphabetically before that item. So that's where you can keep your organization in line. And sometimes with Google, it is different than saving items on our computer in our drive that's very fixed. However, once you get comfortable with how to use this, how to get those links that people have shared with you, those documents people have shared with you, and how to put them into your drive, it's a lot easier to use. And I know some of you have gotten a lot more comfortable with using Google Drive and tools over the past year or two. Does anyone have any story about how they were, you know, they were really against it at first or were really unfamiliar and now they're feeling comfortable, and what contributed to that? This is where I thought Dr. Sherm was going to answer.
I thought you were eliminating me. That's why I was quite a good student. Yeah, actually, in the beginning, I hated it. It was so confusing. I didn't understand what to do and how to do. It's frustrating, actually. You put there, you cannot find it. You don't know how to go and find in work. So I had to ask 1, 2, 3 different people, and most of the time you. So now I think it's good. And as you were saying to everyone about opening the folders, and I do have my folders for every single of my courses on Google Drive, and I don't need to take my computer with me. I don't need to prepare anything outside of classroom. I'm coming, logging in the classroom, going to my Google Drive, opening that specific class in my presentation already there. I work, I change in my home or at the office, but I go classroom with nothing.
Yeah, that's very true. And I'm going to show just like an example. Right here is one of the courses, and I can put anything in here. It doesn't just have to be Google Documents, but I can put in Word documents. I can have whatever resources that I use for my first week right here. And I have access to all of that. I don't have to bring my computer. I can just log in from there, and it makes a big difference because I'm more confident. You know, if plan B or plan A doesn't work with having my computer hooked up here, then I can go to plan B and always be assured that I have my content with me. Thank you for sharing that. Any other situations of becoming more comfortable with using Google tools?
I'm just learning. Maybe you do know. Maybe it's helpful to know. Draw.io.
Oh, yes. We won't focus on that one today, but it is a fun one as well to make spreadsheets and organizational charts and items like that. Okay, so let's go ahead. And to do also the last step there, to share your folder. Let's say you want to share a folder with someone. I'm going to go back to my drive, and I'm going to go back to that PD folder. I'm just going to right click on that, and I can share it. I can also just have that clicked and do this little person plus, and that's going to bring up the sharing settings again. So whoever has access to this, they will be able to access whatever documents are in there. However, you can restrict certain documents. Let's say 99 of 100 documents you want to share with your colleague, but one of those is a one that you don't want to share. You can share the whole folder and then just change the settings on that one document to make it or keep it private. So sometimes I'll make a big folder for for example, when I'm working on assessment, I make one folder for multiple faculty to access, but I keep the rubrics private per faculty member. So then they won't see the rubrics that are being completed by the others. So we have that blind scoring component with assessment. So you can do those types of sharing features and be able to keep things private if you need it. But it's the same every time you do a document and you want to share it, or a folder. It's very easy to save that, or not save it, but share it with whoever you need to share that information with.
Professor Hirashiki?
Yes.
Hi, Dr. Sayed speaking. So thank you so much for doing this training. Very, very valuable, and I'm glad that we have a good swath of faculty that are attending the meeting. I also use Google Docs. Of course, you have to understand how to use it properly. That's why this training is so important in the classroom to increase student engagement. I'll have a Google Doc that I'll share to all the students in the class and in the chat, and they'll click on it, and I'll ask them to input their ideas, and I'll have it up on the screen, and so everyone can see everyone else's input in real time. And it's a really good collaboration tool, a really good way to get students to be engaged. But you got to really understand how to use Google Docs. So yeah, this is really excellent training, and I can't wait till we really get involved and understand its full capacity. Thank you again.
Thank you. And now you know what the second half of the training is about. Now we're all on the same page with these settings. So now how do we share them with students? Because to be honest, we want to make sure we're comfortable with using these tools before we start sending them out to students, and it gets a little clumsy at first if we're not comfortable with how to find those in the moment. And we've probably been there, maybe some of those earlier days of teaching where we are stressed in the moment and then you can never find anything and you're just like, so this is that point where if you're comfortable with this first part, you're going to be more successful with that second part. So let's go ahead and move on to some ideas for the classroom. And does anyone, if you just kind of give a quick yes, if you do, does anyone currently, apart from Dr. Sayed, use any Google tools in your classes or with students now?
Yes, I used Google Drive before to do surveys. So if they have surveys they had to create, I would just ask them to create the surveys and just send me to the share. And then I'd look at the survey and then grade the survey from there. But they'd share their actual survey with me that they created in Google Drives first.
Definitely. Yeah, the Google Form survey, that is a really fun tool. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'm using Google Doc with my students, and that's the way, they create the lesson plans on Google Doc. And every time they are ready, they finish one, they just tag me. And I know that I have to go there and give feedback. So it's really interactive. And it's pretty much real time because we are connected and collaborating in the designing of lesson plans.
That's really true. The instant or the direct feedback that can just be ongoing is huge outside of the classroom as well.
Yeah, and this is Dr. Haddad. I actually use it with other tools as well. We do like data analytics using Google Data Studio. And at the end, I ask my students to go and present so they can create slides and they can do their presentation from Google Drive.
Yes, and bring up a good point with that Google Slides making a presentation. That also facilitates group presentations because you're not sending around a PowerPoint file 20 times back and forth. Oh, you need to add this, you need to do this. Everyone can work on that same document at the same time. So group presentations or presentations in general are really easy to do now with this kind of collaborative ability. All right, one more example.
Quick question, sorry to interrupt. So every student has their own drive within their email? Okay. So that's great. So I'll incorporate this training at the beginning of the session so that they also know how to access Google Drive as well.
It's also interesting because instead of a student, if say they can't upload it in Gap because it's running slow on Sunday, instead of them attaching the file to the email and sending it to you, they can share the link with you and you can go right into that drive and access, say, their assignment. So
Oh,
no more
they,
lost
okay.
emails.
Like they just share, and just as if we were sharing a document, then it goes into my email, and then I double click the the link, and then it, okay, perfect.
Opens right up.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, so that's a really good point. Is sometimes we do have those technical issues on a Sunday night, and students panic, and so you can just say, "Hey, share your link with me so I know," and then upload it on Monday morning. But there's proof in your inbox, right, that you have, or you have the timestamp in there. So whether it's an attachment or a Google Doc, it's kind of giving that flexibility to you or to the students.
Mm-hmm.
And there are lots of different features. So if you were looking for a certain way to use this with your students, I'd be more happy to meet with you to talk about your specific
Perfect.
needs or wants in your class.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Hirashiki.
Definitely. All right, so let's get into some ideas. We're going to look at Google Docs first. And Google Docs is probably one of the easiest ones because it's really just a Word document. You know, it's what we're used to seeing. And you can bring up lots of charts, brainstorming, peer editing activities. The nice aspect of this is that the professor can check student participation. It's easy to share, and feedback is documented. I bring this up because while this training is a generic one, sometimes in our online only classes, we are limited by the physical, you know, we don't have the ability to go from group to group and make sure that each student is kind of participating. We can call one-on-one, but what about those times where we have students working together and talking? And this is one of those ways that we can get around the limitations that we have in that online setting. And so the first example here is an idea brainstorming share. And so what I am going to do is I'm going to change these settings here. So I'm going to do anyone with the link can edit. So that means when I send this to you, because you have this link, you're going to be able to write on this document. So I'm going to share this with you. You're just going to jump into this document. It's going to come into into the chat, and you're going to just put in your initial thoughts of what are some of the strengths, limitations, and interesting facts. Don't worry, this is not a big assignment. I just wanted you to get an idea of a type of activity that you could use this for. So let me go and share this in the chat. It's there now. So if you click on it, you should be able to come right into that document. Perfect.
Can you quickly go back and, I just wanted to see how you opened up the functionality of sharing.
Sure. When I clicked on share, I saw this anyone with link can edit. I dropped down. These are some of the most common ones. But sometimes, you know, if people have multiple accounts and didn't log off with one, I tend to go with, I tend to go with the advanced feature down here. Oh, sorry, hold on one there. Let me start over real quick. When I want people to do, I can do anyone with link can access. So it's not just the Westcliff University can access, it's anyone with the link. And then I could say, well, anyone can comment only, or anyone can view only. So I can restrict those settings right there. So it's really just share and then expand which ones you want to be accessible. And I've found over the years that anyone with link, as long as it's not anything real personal, you know, something like this, if anyone else gets it, it's not a huge deal. But I tend to do that one because I have fewer issues with anyone logging on if you're still under their other setting.
If you're teaching online, you should know about the chat box, and it's a great way to communicate with all the students, either individually or as a group all at once.
Mm-hmm.
So if a student's camera isn't on, instead of you directly saying it to the entire class, you can just send them a message.
Mhm.
Attach files, everything, just as we did now.
Okay. So one limitation here, though, you want to make sure, right now we have anonymous, so if you had a class that was smaller, as you get more comfortable, you want to make sure people are logged in with their names, because really it's going to show me that like Anonymous Rhino is working on it, but I don't know which one of you is Anonymous Rhino or Anonymous Goose or Anonymous Ferret. So that would be the benefit with having them log in. But you can see there are a couple here who have logged in and are using there. So I'm able to go in. And so now we've spent, a few minutes putting in our ideas. A lot of times I hear feedback from professors that are saying, oh, the students aren't ready to answer. This is a really good way at the beginning of a class, especially an online class or even on campus, if they're bringing if they're bringing their computers, or if you can share these links by email. So that's easy enough to do. You can even save it ahead of time and put it into your GAP course. So then you say, just go into GAP and open that link. Then everyone can get that 2-3 minutes of brainstorming, getting some ideas out, getting ready for the discussion, and making sure that you can start from a common ground there. So no need to continue. I am actually going to now show you how I can tell who contributed what. So again, if I see last edit up here, it's going to open and I can see exactly who did what in this document. So I can see, oh, there was only one comment or two. Oh no, Dr. Goodstone, she was really on this Google Tools one. Look at that, she answered all of those. But maybe I find out that not all of my students are participating, right? Or maybe I find out that some of the answers might not be specifically on point, or maybe there's a little bit of misunderstanding in what the task was or the content that they went over. So this is giving me a nice checkpoint to start with. And now I can come on in here and just be like, oh, Professor Sorensen, what did you think when you wrote that comment about my students often only bring their phones and it becomes tricky? Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yes. So if they don't have the different apps downloaded on their phone, then they have to go and download them. And then by the time they get it set up, it becomes a whole thing. Or their phone is just so small that they can't see. And so they just kind of write the bare minimum, or what they read or what they write is completely crazy and just not understandable.
That is a really good point to bring up, because if your students are bringing their computers to class, then this is going to be very easy to implement. But if your students are just bringing a phone, then they might need to download the Google Suite tools onto their phone, or specific ones. So that is something logistically to think about.
You can announce in your first class that this is a requirement because you're going to be doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And then once everyone understands that, then it starts affecting their participation points. If they're not ready, if they're not able to do it because they didn't bring their required items in or download this before the second class, absolutely it's going to start affecting their participation credit.
However, my comment to this is if we're training our faculty members in this, then maybe we should make this the standard, and we need to put this out in the orientation for our students. I'm real big on making sure our students are successful from day one. So if we're teaching our faculty members right now that this is going to help our faculty communicate with our students and teach our students, then we need to make this part of the orientation for the students, saying, hey, you need to download the Google Suite, you need to download all these tools, because this is what's going to be used in your classrooms. So let's not set them up.
I'm going to jump in real quick, because the purpose of this training isn't to mandate that every faculty member or every student uses this.
I understand.
Okay.
I understand that, but I'm sitting here looking at this. I'm going to utilize this in this, and I'm almost positive most of us will. So let's say, hey, you know, this is probably 99% of us are going to use this. I think I'm almost positive everybody on this training, we wouldn't be here if we didn't going to use it, aren't going to use it. So let's set our students up for success and say, hey, download Google Suite. It's going to help you. Let's get our academic advisors in and help train our students in this to help them be successful. I think let's do it from day one and orientate our students for success.
It is part of the student orientation, Professor Kilgore. It is part of it. It does get brought up, plus they have opportunities for additional trainings.
Nice.
Sweet.
And if you do have undergraduates who are coming from high school in the U.S., they've been using Google tools in their high school experience most of the time. So even now I see students, they all know how to share documents. They use, the hardest part about using Google tools for them is remembering their password. So not that they know how to use everything seamlessly, they know how, they do have familiarity with it. However, we don't have all of our student population coming directly from a U.S. high school. So definitely bringing them up to speed, and that's good to know, Professor Lipo, that it is included in the new student orientation.
Well, I know it was included because none of the students didn't know how to use it in my classes. And actually the comment that I wrote, many students can actually teach you how to use those features, is actually true.
I agree.
Have been so well versed, at least in my class, about Google Docs. They were just actually volunteering. Like when we went over the first 8, you know, the kind of a broad view of what we're going to go over, people were jumping right in. Oh, so we'll send it Google Docs, and it's like, yeah, actually we will. So I think the students are pretty well versed for the most part. At least the ones in my class, they have been.
My class also, they're helping me if I have problems.
That's often going to be the case, right? As technology continues to develop and certain generations are more comfortable with the more recent technology advances. So often that's what we're seeing in class. So this is just one basic idea, and we'll definitely keep an eye on that, making sure that everyone does feel prepared, whether it's student, faculty, administration. So thank you for bringing that up. I'm going to jump back over here. So now you've seen kind of how this could set up for a class discussion. It also could set up for, maybe you do have a class that's very theory heavy and you are not sure that your students really can find those distinct differences between the different theories. And that's what their PA1 is all about. This serves as a really good physical document, I guess physical is subjective there, but a physical document that they can use as a resource when they go to start writing their paper as well. They've gotten those ideas out to make sure that, you know, there's nothing really blatantly incorrect listed on here, but it turns into a later tool that students can utilize to be able to have more success on and maybe writing their paper. They've gotten a little more clarification, or it gives you a point of a target for maybe someone who is not understanding or following that topic. Let's jump over here, and I'm going to bring another example in here with, this is a in-class feedback assignment that I've used with some of the students when I was teaching them how to give feedback to one another, because sometimes students really like to get more feedback than just what's given from their professors. But what they are able to do is they have certain questions that they have to answer, and then they share their lesson plan overview and their technology rationale. And the students have to actually go in, they have 7 minutes to read through, give some feedback, and then, you know, depending on if they need a little more time, we can go up to 10. And then they give feedback and they can critique the objectives here, or they can give a little bit more insight using the rubric. So it's bringing everything together. And now this is for the master's level and with teachers. So it might look different at a different level or with a different topic, but this is something where they can give feedback. And over here at the top, there's this editing tool where you can do suggesting, and it could be like, students will, be able to let's say list and write action verbs in the in the task or the list task listing whatever activity. So now I haven't just redone it, I've given suggestions, and this is something that students can use in addition to, or to prepare for maybe the feedback they're going to get from you. And so this is one of those areas that I think many of us, when we're doing something kind of important, we do look for a colleague to support us or read through something we've written. This is also teaching that skill with our students of having someone else take a look at it, or how to receive and give feedback that's quality. So this is just a simple task right there. And then anyone in here, are you teaching quantitative or math and statistics related courses?
Professor Phil is saying yes.
Okay, I see a couple. There is a Chrome extension. Let me go back to that. And it is called, let me see if I have that up on here. Oops. I'm going to go back to this in-class assignment. And if I've already downloaded the Chrome extension. Oh, where did it go? Maybe I don't have it anymore. Okay, well, this is not a huge one. It's just a Chrome extension for math, writing math equations, and it is called Equatio. And so sometimes if you are trying to write something and you're trying to use your mouse pad to write the numbers, you can just speak it in there and it embeds everything into a Google Doc or where you want it to go. So I would recommend downloading, playing around with that if you are someone who teaches math and doesn't want it to just be written by your scrolling or your whatever mouse handwriting. This is a really cool tool, and again, I'd be more than happy to meet with anyone who specifically would like to try this out with a class. But all right, let's move on to Google Forms over here. And what exactly are Google Forms? Someone did mention it earlier.
Like surveys, templates?
Yes, those are the surveys.
Templates. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And so we are familiar with them. That is what students use to fill out their mid-course, end-of-course evaluations. That's what we use now to fill out our faculty end-of-course feedback forms. We see them all the time as those surveys. So I've seen them used in that capacity a lot, but I came across this activity that I really want to do, and I think for any of you who are teaching undergraduate students, this might be a very motivational tool for them in the classroom and to keep them engaged, provided that you have the tech side and the tech components that you need with students bringing their tools. Have any of you done an escape room before?
No.
No.
What is it? What's the definition of an escape room?
Escape room is where
like a breakout session?
No, this is not a teaching related item at all. This is where you are locked into a room and you have to solve clues and puzzles to find the key to get out of the room within 1 hour. And it's a really fun experience because you have to look at everything and you're trying to put codes in and unlock boxes to find keys, and eventually the goal is to get out of the room. Well, they have made an escape room with Google Forms, meaning, and let me pull up this example here. I'm going to pull up a couple examples, and I'll share this with you as well so you'll have that. But basically, it's creating a form that you have questions and locks embedded, and they have to go through, oops, let me find where that other one was. They have to go through and escape, where was the picture? Like this. So if you're teaching a science class, you have your slide, they have to solve it, get the code, put the code in that lock key, here's the template, and then it's going to unlock the next section. So obviously it's not as fun as like a real escape room of being in this room and solving puzzles, but it brings up that competition It brings in that formative assessment of checking, do students know, were they coming to class prepared? And if they didn't, here's a really good chance to get them on the same page and get them a little more motivated with that. And this walks you through, so you can see, here's this picture, and they have to go according to the code of here's 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then they have to figure out what that code is, and then they put it in, and it opens up the next slide. Now, or the next quiz question. This would take quite a bit of pre-planning. However, if you're someone that teaches that same course consistently, then you'd be able to reuse this multiple times, and it could be a really motivating activity for some of you. And I know I'm looking to see if Professor Salami is in here, because I told him this would be perfect for his class based on what I observed.
I used his method in my class too, Professor Hirashiki.
So I'll be looking forward to watching you do this.
Break points, I used it in my classroom too. It was awesome.
Great. And so again, this is not for everyone, but it is a really good way to keep people motivated, keep your students motivated, give them that goal, the speed, the competition element, but you're still able to check and you know, this is a little more exciting than just saying, what are the 4 parts or 4 locations of the brain, right? So you can get them excited, and they can go and reference things as they need to. They can look up content, and then the whole goal is to get them through and have a really comprehensive review of what was included in the reading for that day, or that, you know, first half of the class.
And they love games. I know students like games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is something that I was not aware you could do actually prior to this. I am waiting to have a class that has enough students where I can really implement this, because I think this is super motivating and fun to try out. So I have all the instructions right here. You can go in and get that. Again, if you are teaching a class maybe on research, you can use it for critiquing a survey. I know I was talking with Professor Kilgore about this earlier this week. I made the worst survey ever and had them critique it, right? And they had to go through and find out what they would suggest to be different, or how am I not going to get the data that I need based on this survey. So it's kind of silly. You look at it, you see how I purposely made it very ugly, and oh, do you like this class? Yes and no. You know, it's not helpful at all. But they can go in, they can give feedback, and then this is prior to them creating their own survey. So it's just that warm up of the activity of what to look for. And a lot of times, if our students haven't done any type of survey creation or research before, they don't necessarily know those little intricacies of what to look for when creating a survey. How are you getting that feedback you need? So they're able to take this survey, give feedback, and then look at the data that was entered and determine if it was helpful or not. And then they make their own survey. But this is a really fun way to get everyone discussing something in the classroom, whether it's online or on. This is something I actually do in an online class. Has anyone done something similar to that? Just laughing. Okay.
Yeah, for years I've worked with the survey companies because it's such an important part of marketing, and now with online and social media, surveys are just tremendously important, and you don't know how to write those questions effectively to begin with. It's a bit of a training and an art to get those questions where you need them to be. And in the doctoral program, it's particularly important to learn how to do the surveys correctly for the research aspect of it.
Definitely. And we are currently in a time period where we're bombarded with surveys, and they're not always good, right? So it's a nice way to bring attention to that, especially for those doctoral students who might not have had a lot of experience with creating their own surveys or thinking through the whole aspect of collecting that information. What is the natural response for that, right? We always send out a survey to someone just to get their feedback real quick. You know, can you run through it? Can you check that this is, this makes sense? You know, what I'm thinking might not can be conveyed in my questions. And it's always good to have that that dialogue with some people. So that's another one. And also just a quick quiz review. So even the normal, making it a quiz about what you read and having this as your kind of starting point, and seeing if students understood, or making it after you've gone through the different activities and this is their exit ticket. They need to take this quiz real quick before they leave the class. So you can, and it'll be part of their grade. So you can do a lot with these Google Forms and try some ways to get students involved, and also put the work on them. Make them be the busy ones. You've been busy creating this, so now as you are teaching, this is the time for them to really take it and be busy. All right.
So I might need to get with you one-on-one to create these surveys or the games in the escape room.
And I recommend trying one thing at a time. Don't feel like this weekend is going to be creating all of these templates. Really try out one, see how it works, see how comfortable you feel, and then try a different one next session, and then a new one in the next session.
Right.
And after a year, you have 6 new
Right.
ideas that you can put into your classes. So I would be more than happy to meet with you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So for this next section, we only have 10 minutes to go. This is a fun one. I've been in classes using this. So I've been on the student end of sides with this Pear Deck tool. And this is a Google add-on. And so, you know, you've got your Chrome extension, you have your Google add-ons. Google add-ons can be found over here. So you can go to this add-on section and you can get add-ons and you can look through and see what there is. This one is called Pear Deck. And right now, this will probably take the rest of our session here. So bear with me, because this is a little bit of I guess, a more complicated way, but it is a great tool to make sure your students are paying attention, even in those online classes or on ground. I'm going to start this class. Let's hope that Zoom will run it. It's going to launch the presentation and give me a code. So all of you right now are going to go to joinpd.com and you're going to type in EYRVG as your code. And once you're logged in, it's going to show my screen on your desktop and you're going to be able to do a couple tasks. Okay, and it tells me how many students are connected. Okay, we've got 5. So I'm gonna, as the rest, does anyone need the code or did you write it down? All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and start class. Now, one slight disadvantage is it starts from the beginning. So I'm going to run through this to get to my specific slide. So right now, I want you, I know you don't know anything really about, oh, you can't find it. All right. So the code, you joinpd.com is the website, and then you're going to put this code, which is in the corner right here, EYRVG, for those of you who aren't able to access. We got a couple of you. Join PD. And then you're going to do EYRVG in the code, and then it's going to come up. So right now, you have a dot on your screen. I want you to say, or, you know, right now the question is, I can see myself using Pear Deck in class. Now, I know you don't know anything about this. We can open it up to saying, I can see myself using some of these tools today in class. And you're going to move that dot to where you fall on this spectrum. I've got 6 of 8 responses so far. If you go to the website, you will not lose connection. You're going to actually see the same screen. All right, I've got 7 of 10 responses. All right, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to lock the screen and I'm going to show the response. So we've got a lot of those of you who are agreeing with this statement of using Pear Deck or using Google tools in class. And we got some that are over here, but this is what you can do with this tool, is you can get students to take part, to check that they're all there, and it will actually break it down, and I can see who responded in which way later. It'll pull it into a spreadsheet there. So I'm gonna go now to the next slide. And here is a graphing one. Don't worry, everyone. I don't even know what the answer is to this. So you can really just put your dot anywhere on here, and I won't know if you're right or wrong right now. And it's still before 9 a.m., so I can get away with that one, hopefully. But you can take your dot again. And so for those of you who do teach quantitative classes, here is a really great way to get students to do the work and check on them. So right now I've got 9 of 14 responses. I'm just holding it in. Okay, got 9 of 15. Again, don't worry if you don't know the answer. I won't judge you. Got 11. All right, so now I'm gonna lock the screen so none of you are gonna be able to answer anything. And I can show the responses. All right, so we've got something over here. But you can,
that's me.
We've got a smiley face. We've created some, but you can see how this would be a quick check to see if students are understanding in the math classes or any type of quantitative class that might need something like this. You can change the types of tools. They have a lot of different templates that you can bring in and use, and you can change and modify these items. And so then I'm just going to go
I have a quick question. So Dr. Hirashiki, how would this apply to class participation? Like how heavily would this weigh in terms of their grade for class participation, do you think?
That's a great question. Now, if they're getting the answers wrong, but they're learning, obviously that's the point of your class. However, if you're seeing so-and-so just didn't participate in any of this, that's where it's really going to impact the grade because they're not actively taking part of the class. And so sometimes in our on-ground and online classes, you know, I've been in a lot of both of the environments, and sometimes students in the on-ground class are sitting in the back corner on chat with their friends. This is a way to make sure those students, you know, they have their computer up. Are you taking part in this? This is also when you have cameras off, maybe on your online class. This is how you can check, are my students like paying attention? Are they there? Or are they just logging on and walking away? So of course we can always call on students directly, but this is broadening those tools that we can use to, I guess, be on top of it without always being, oh, so-and-so you answer, so-and-so you answer, with checking everyone at the same time. So I know that wasn't a great answer as far as like a yes, no type of thing, but it's giving you more, a more comprehensive view of what's happening in your class, and you'll be able to then better be able to check knowledge and grade according to that. Thank you.
Does it show how quickly or how long it takes to answer by student?
That's a good question. Let me see. I could open the dashboard. You can do student pacing. So I'd have to double check with the free and the paid features. However, this is the free version. I think there is the paid features you can access, but for the paid one, I'm not sure on that specific. I can definitely look it up. All right, so here's just a quick Google Apps for Education slide that you can check out and see if there's anything that we didn't cover, because there are lots of tools that you can use. But quickly, because I know that we have a lot of things on our plate. It's Friday, it's almost the weekend. But if anyone has any questions, this is a good time. If you want to continue, stay on and ask some questions, I'm here. But if you need to go, you're fine to go. I really wish you the best in implementing these into your class. And I know myself and a couple others, Professor Shauheda, I'm pretty sure Professor Bixby, even Dr. Sherm, he's more comfortable with this now. We'd all be very happy to help. And I know I just volunteered everyone, but we're here and we're ready to help you if you want to talk about any of these ideas for your class. So thank you for coming this morning at 8 if you're in California, and I look forward to talking with you.
Thank you so much. It was a super presentation.
Thank you.
I have a quick
Thank
question.
you.
So is there like a forum, or I know there's like listservs for different things and different reasons. Is there like a Professor Geek listserv or something that you know about to find out like cutting edge things that might work, or do you know any of those?
Okay, I'm going to give a twofold answer. So one, I did the Google certification, the Google Educator Certificate for free on Google. And it gave me, and I thought I knew a lot about Google, and it gave me a lot of really cool tricks just of how to create templates and how to do this. So first of all, I think that Google Educator Certificate is really valuable. It's free, and if you take the test to become a certified Google Educator, it's $10. For the experience alone, that the test process was really well done because it's all task-based. It's not really question-based. It's do this.
So you get like an actual certificate after you pass the test?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
so that's the one, and they have 2 levels plus like a different higher level that they do. So that is your basic foundations, but it gives you like even how to set up meetings on or time slots for student meetings on your Google Calendar. So that's not just going over these docs and forms, but that's your good basics foundation. Now
and
for the second,
how long is it the certification for? Like how many days or hours?
Well, it's self-paced, and so I think I got through it in about a week, just spending 30 minutes here and there. It was very quick to do, and the test was the longest part. It was, I think, an hour and a half, but it flew by because it's just like create a doc, save this document here, title the folder this, do this, add students to your class. It was one of the best tests I've ever taken, actually, because it was all about showing that you know how to do something rather than just recalling that information.
And is that something that, I know we have to do, like update our trainings and stuff. Is that something you would add to the Westcliff trainings? Because I know you have to let Westcliff know what trainings you've had. Is that right?
Oh yeah, you could easily add that onto your professional development list. That's definitely something.
I'm definitely gonna do this because this sounds like a good idea. Just to, even if stuff you know, to know more about it.
Yeah, so that would be the first part. The second part is, it sounds silly, but Pinterest is the best place to get these ideas. You think Pinterest is like, oh, saving cooking and craft things. Yes, it is used for that, and a lot of women are on Pinterest. However, a lot of teachers are on Pinterest. And if you're not familiar with it, I can do another like short one-off training on Pinterest, and it gives me so many ideas. I can type in like top 10 tech tools for Google Docs or top 10 Chrome apps and for education, and I can get so many really neat ideas and then just try them out on my own and see, oh, is this something I could use or not? So it's not a listserv. It's more of, because I don't like getting
I use Pinterest for hand because I'm really handy. So I like make stuff on the side. So I use it only for that, but I never thought about using it for any other reason.
Yeah, and it is a really good resource for teachers. So I have it embedded into one of our TESOL courses about how to use Pinterest for education. So
and students are more likely to use it as well already.
Oh yeah.
Definitely. So that's another resource I would say, try those, and then you might even stumble upon other ideas as you're looking at those.
And then the last question I have is about Pear Deck. So you would just go to Pear Deck and make a free account. Is that what you would do?
I just did the Google or the add-on. So if I was in that folder, I just went down to find add-ons. Okay. Get add-ons, and then I can look for different add-ons, and then I can just, once I've downloaded it, it's always going to be in my add-on.
But is it download to your computer itself, to your desktop, or is it download to the cloud? Like
to the cloud. So it's, it's right here. So there are different features. I know Dr. Saya, it looks like he stepped away, but there are also add-ons to do like recording and voice over tasks. And there are a lot of add-ons. They're creating them all the time. So it's almost impossible to keep up with everything. That's why I just find something I like, try it out for a little bit, and then try something something else.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. Knowledge is power. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Definitely. And let me know how it works in your class.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, I'm definitely going to take the class for the certification class.
Great.
All right. Take care, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
This might be a message for question for Dr. Lepeau. You mentioned that students were able to send you, like, access their documents if they needed to do a revision, and they send you the link to their Google Drive. So I know we cannot accept email attachments to grade, but can we accept those documents in Google Drive as official Westcliff documents that we can grade?
Well, what I did with them is once I received them, I could then upload them into Gap for them if they were having trouble, and then grade from there.
So it's basically a plan B in case you have a student runs into problems. We've all had that one class where a student's like, oh, I logged on, it wasn't working. Here, I'm sending it to you by email. So it's just another way of attaching an email, and then you know it's there. So they wouldn't be counted late necessarily if they were having technical problems.
Oh, I see.
It's also, you can use it if you're willing to work with your students and say, hey, you know, if you want me to look something over before you submit it,
Like a first
they can
draft,
send
yeah.
you the link and you can give them advice right in their own document.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
And Dr. Shaw, it's very convenient. I've been using it a lot when people, they could not, they had issues, problems too, especially for the presentations, the week 8, they have issues to download or something. So they send it to me and I send it to tech support also. They will help me download it in their folders.
Oh, you know what? You don't even need to do that. Tech support, here we go.
Sometimes I couldn't because
Well,
I couldn't, yeah.
If you go to File, and then go to Download as Microsoft Word. And now here it is. You have it, you can save it on your computer, and then you have the right and access in, turn it in to just upload the paper. You don't even have to go through tech support.
Oh, we can upload papers now? I thought
We always have. We always have.
Here, I'll
okay, I thought I had to contact IT all the time.
But sometimes when the folder is big, that's where I send it to IT so that way they can send it, because when it's big, I cannot upload it. That's what I meant.
Oh, a folder. So let's
Not
say
the PowerPoint presentation, sometimes it's too big and they have, you know, videos in the PowerPoint presentation. So I cannot, it won't let me, it restricts, you know, the file size. So then I have to send it to IT and then they will do something. I don't know what they do. And then they can.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. So you're talking about the assignment that's not being uploaded and turn it in. You're talking about the assignment that goes like
on Gap.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
But on turn it in, and I'm just going to go to a class now. Bear with me. I'm with you all. You just changed over. We just changed over to.
While you're looking, I am asking students to upload with the PDF format, very big file.
Yeah.
Instead of PowerPoint, PDF.
But see, that's the other thing too. If it is that large that it cannot be uploaded into Gap, they can share the link with us. We can review it. We can save it so we have a permanent record, grade it anyway. And while tech support is putting it in there, you know, they can do the larger files, but we can access it. We can grade ahead of, you know, before it even gets up there. So there's always a way to use this to get the files from students.
Okay. So this has been something that I'm going to bring up to, oh, why is this? Okay. So right now, none of these are labeled. So I find this very confusing because it's not showing what is what. But this, we need to bring this up. And if anyone does have comments, then we can, you know, send emails to give feedback on this. But this box right here, if let's say this student sent it to me via email because they were having trouble uploading and there was, you know, we know Sunday nights can be a little tricky. Or for example, this student he submitted a 15-page paper that was fantastic and didn't actually cover the prompt. So I let him redo it. So I uploaded his revised version. All I do is click on this box, which is not labeled, but when you click on it, you can submit, and you can just select the file that you're going to submit and put in there. And then you can put it, you can label it, you know, approved by your initials submission.
Okay, I have a question. If you go back to that previous, yeah, here. You cannot see this student's submission if he or she did not submit. That name is not gonna be here.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, initially, if they didn't submit, you don't see them here, no?
Is this with the new version?
Oh, you see as empty, right? Yeah, I'm sorry, I apologize, yes, I got confused. On discussion question, you don't see them.
Oh, right, yes, that's true, right.
Yes,
right.
So yeah, this one you'd be able to see and you'd be able to upload, so.
Okay.
Quick question on the, when they answer on the DQs, when they answer, you know, for sometimes for the references, there is the italic or there's something, there is no italic features anymore or bold or anything. So if they
You have to go advanced.
I'm sorry?
I know I already reported that to technology. If you edit your document, if you edit your response to the DQ, it comes in the old format, and then you can do the italics. You can also use advanced, and that it opens up there.
We are going to be creating mini tutorials on all of these, so if you have questions, please ask them or email them to us, because that's going to help us help, you know, future professors as well as they're coming on and learning the new system. But for us who have been using it, but there are small changes, we're gonna have updating the tutorials that we have already created for the older version of Moodle. So definitely send those items our way.
All right, thank you.
This is Dr. Haddad. My recommendation is if you guys are trying to do a deployment or a change to a system, that you would do it like in business environment, we do training before, like in a test environment, and then you publish it rather than doing the other way around. So you, students and faculty will be prepared ahead of time rather than just do it and then deal with it later.
I 100% agree with that statement. I think something came up with the patches were no longer supported with the older version, or we weren't going to be able to use Turnitin in a certain way. Something expedited this to an extreme. So I am 100% on board with your comment. I think we all are. Definitely was not expecting that myself. So we will make the best of it, but that is something that has been commented by myself of giving feedback in that as well. So thank you for bringing that up. Agreed 100%.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, hi, Professor. This is Professor Sheridan.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you so much for all that new and useful information on Google Tools. I was wondering, would there be any way to access what our new students see or train as undergraduate students? In other words, you said that new students were given this information in their orientation. Is there any way for us to see the training that they take?
It's not recorded. I am involved in part of that orientation, and the part I'm involved in, we go through using Google Docs and sheets and slides.
Okay.
If you're looking for also some resources, I can throw, before I send this out, I can throw on a couple YouTube videos as the overall tutorials as well. That might help as you're navigating some of these tools. So I can throw some of those on and then send this out too.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah,
I also just sent to Professor Bixby, who runs the Writing Center, information to give to students on how they can format their Google Documents program to meet most of APA requirements, all the formatting. I previously sent that to her for Word documents, but I updated it now to include Google Documents, setting the margins, setting the indents, setting all that. So she's going to be putting that up under the Writing Center as part of the information for students and faculty as well.
Perfect, thank you.
And Dr. Hirashiki, if you can also send the link to that certification Google course, and an email, I'd also be interested in taking that training as well. That'd be wonderful.
All right, I will put everything in as extra slides, so you'll have all of it in one place.
Perfect, thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, well, thank you all for your participation. I hope that this gave you some fresh ideas for the classroom, and I look forward to hearing some of these success stories, or even the ones that aren't as successful. I would be more than happy to work with you. So have a great weekend, and I will speak with you or meet you all on campus or online soon.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.